Well, that's right guys. In today's video, I'm going to show you just a little bit on engraving with glass ball ornaments, but mostly bring you guys along to show you a new jig that I developed that I make and sell for lasers to allow you to do this kind of work much easier. Hey guys, Sam here and welcome back to Samcraft. That's right, today's video is going to be a laser engraving video, one where we focus and try and get good results on glass ball ornaments. We're also going to be using some new features from xTool Creative Space, such as their curved engraving feature, and also the xTool F1 Ultra to produce some okay ornaments in the end, while also showing you guys a new jig that I've developed to make this job as far as layout, batch out process, and just repeatability dead on. First thing I want to do is introduce you guys to the ball ornament jig that I'm advertising and showing on this video. Let you know the compatibility, the bits and pieces, and basically the components involved, because this is what's going to allow me, just like it would allow you, to get precision engraving on the ornaments with the least amount of hassle on my end as far as setting things up, squaring them up, centering them, and making sure they are level. First things first is this guy. This is the base plate. This is what will mount to your laser, and depending upon your laser, it has different kind of mounting options. In this video, I'll be using the xTool F1 Ultra. So it does have the holes here, which are all the way through holes to allow the included stainless steel bolts that you get in my kit to thread it directly into your machine's base and lock it down that way. However, I'm not going to be using hardware in this video because my laser is set up with the xTool F1 jig base plate, which allows me to hot swap my jigs without needing to add any hardware with the jig I want to place. It's basically this X looking object that is bolted to the machine. It is aligned with my machine, and so it allows me to drop and plop my jigs, whether they be of this size, which is the F1 size by the way, or the F1 Ultra, and just swap them out and keep going while maintaining my precise alignments. Now, speaking of the F1, this jig is also sized to work directly in the xTool F1. This portion will slot right into the bottom of the F1. So honestly, the only difference that there could be between F1 Ultra and F1 are the holes, but this one will just have holes regardless of the machine model you buy. In addition to xTool, I have comm marker jigs coming down the pike within a couple of days, and this guy will be included on that product list, so make sure you look down below for links to my store to see all of the jigs I offer, whether it be for xTool machines or other manufacturers as well. The next thing to talk about in this kit components are these guys. The ball cradles, the ball holders. That doesn't sound good. The things the ornaments sit in to reference on your machine. There, that's more technical. In this kit, I've included 4 different sizes for the various sized glass ball ornaments that I have been able to source and find locally, but also that a lot of other people in laser engraving forums and groups have been saying, this is the size I use, this is where I get them. My goal is to make this jig kit universally applicable and fit whatever ornament size you're going to run across. That being said, you get cradles to fit 65mm, 67mm, 80mm, and 86mm diameter glass ball ornaments. Now for sure, if you have an 85 or an 84, it'll fit in the 86. Same thing if you have a 63, it'll fit in the 65. So this should be good for you, at least for all of the ornaments that I've tested. I've tested ornaments from suppliers such as Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Target, Michael's Crafts, and a few others, and they have all fit within one of these 4 sizes. And then lastly, as with all of my jigs, when you purchase them, you get the jig, but you also get digital file components to go along with it as well. In the case of xTool, you get an xTool Creative Space project file plus SVG files, and in the case of other laser manufacturers that are Lightburn compatible, you will get the Lightburn SVG files as well. So this is a complete package, and I try and think about all the things you may want and need just to get running right out of the gate and give them to you. So the last thing I wanted to show and tell, I guess also explain, is why there is a hole in the center of this jig and why it is so thick. It's so that you can take your glass ornaments and plop them upside down, allowing you to engrave on the bottom. This will just give you another hemisphere, I think, an area of the ornament that you can engrave. You got the bottom, With it this way, you can rotate it all the way around, get all of the equator, and then of course with the cradles, you can do this, pinpoint that to the top, and it'll allow you to engrave the top. So the hole in the middle is for you to put them face down and engrave the bottom of the ornaments. That to me was to round off the jig to be completely useful and be the most use to you as a designer, a maker, a laser engraver, or just a hobbyist as well. That being said, let's go ahead and jump over to the laser. Let's start actually putting this thing to use and work through engraving some glass ball ornaments. Alright guys, first up we're going to engrave this guy, and I may not know exactly what diameter this ornament is, but the easy way to figure that out is to start with one of my cradles. This one happens to be a 67mm. Plop it in there and then turn it sideways. Look at it from this direction and see, is your stem horizontal? If so, that's the correct one. Also, that explains what's the purpose of the nub. That's to hold it perfectly horizontally so you can engrave perpendicular to the stem. Get straight engravings. So this guy fits, so we'll go ahead and slot our ball holder into the jig. Just like that. Plop the guy down, and that's it. We're good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is focus on the top of the ornament. In this case, pushing the button to raise the laser. We've got it dead center, focused right there. So we are all done on setup. Now let's jump over to the software and start programming and designing our file. Alright guys, we're over here at the desk, and the first thing I want to do is show you something that I have been personally paying for, personally using for over a year, which is a website that you can subscribe to, pay once per year or whatever, and get access to a nearly unlimited amount of graphics, SVG files, vector files, embroidery files, and a ton of other stuff. So this is a website that, I mean, there's a link to it down below as an affiliate, so if you go through and sign up, I get some kind of a small commission from that, but otherwise I have no official affiliations with this company. It is someone that I found like a year and a half ago when I started researching options, decided to try it, and like I said, I've been using it for over a year. I've enjoyed it, I've spent my own money, and still think it's worth it, so I'm sharing it with you. That website is called Creative Fabrica. So, what I want to do is go on here, and I want to get some inspiration for Christmas stuff. So I'm going to type in Christmas SVG. Click enter, press enter, and let's just see what kind of results we get. Wow. Well, as is usual, there are a ton of different options. There are a lot of SVG packs and graphics and designs, a lot of stuff. As we keep scrolling, it just keeps adding more and more. The cool thing is, the level that I pay for, which is it's a yearly payment, I get anything and everything. I think there's an option where you can buy like one-off stuff, but it's kind of a waste to me. I'm buy once, cry once type anyway. Okay, so this one's appealing because they're showing it on an ornament. That's really cool. First Christmas as dad, first Christmas as mom, brother. Oh, that would be a good seller. We do have someone in the family who it is their first Christmas because they have a baby. So, okay. Now, since I'm showing this on the xTool F1 Ultra, we're going to be open xTool Creative Space and doing a new project. Alright, the first thing we want to do is make sure we're connected, which we are. Then we're going to go up here where it says Process on Flat Surface. I'm clicking that, and I want to choose the Curved Material option. This is a new feature with xTool Creative Space, so if you're watching this real time, November 2024, make sure you upgrade your software because it'll have this. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is measure my curved surface. So basically what it's showing you here is that, alright, give us a dimension of a square that will fit on your object because we're about to use it to measure. That ornament is a 65mm. I know we can't do 65mm because the square won't wrap around it like that. So I'm going to try, well, let's try 50. So let's try 50mm by 50mm. Next thing they want you to do is click framing and go look at your object, make sure it fits. I'm kind of going to skip that. I'm just going to go ahead and click next because what it's about to do is measure it through pinpoint, and if it doesn't fit, it'll tell you it doesn't fit. So we're clicking next here. It's going to show us that it's going to do a 5x5 measurement. We could change that. We can make it more fine points. So the more points you get, the more precise your outcome will be. Or we can just leave it at the default. I'm choosing the default. So we're going to click on Start Measuring. And here it's doing its thing, and as it goes along, up here at the top, you'll see measuring the marked area, and now we see an error. Point can't be marked. Cannot find it. So this is where we want to go back to mark points again. I think I was a little bit too ambitious with the 50 by 50, so let's take it down to 45 by 45. Click on Next, Start Measuring. Alright, see how that first little dot right there turned green? And as it's going across, they're turning green. Green means good. Green means go. Means it's out there measuring and doing its magic, and it's going to work. So great. On a 65mm ornament, 45 by 45 square, looks like it'll work. Awesome. While it is measuring, it is almost done. I will tell you that if you notice, the ornament I put in that machine is a matte, or it's not a mirror finish ornament. There is a trick to doing those, and I'll show you that here in a little bit in the video. Phooey, we got that far and it didn't get that bottom left corner. Alright, let's go all the way down to 40 by 40. Let's see if that works this time. As you look, we also have had our grid reduced, so it went from a 5 by 5 to now a 4 by 4. So that's okay. Again, it's doing its automatic stuff, and we're just going to leave it as a defaults for now. Alright, xTool Creative Space was happy with that dimensions, finally. So this next screen here is kind of showing a 3D rendering of what it scanned, and it's showing you that, alright, towards those corners, that's the red zone. Don't put your design there. And that totally makes sense, right? We're wrapping it around a spherical object. Here you can adjust the smoothness of the model, so you can take it all the way to 5. Basically what's that doing? It's increasing the number of triangles in your mesh. So this is all the way to 5. Let's pull it all the way down to 1. See how those triangles got larger? That's your smoothness. So we'll leave it on 3, right there in the middle. That's the default value as well. The tension is going to make it more curved, less jagged. So tension is probably a good thing to do with this ornament. If we take it all the way down to 1, see how it got a lot worse quality? I mean, it looks like a pixelated. So we're going to take the tension all the way to 5 because we are working with a perfect sphere. That's the sound of a printer that just finished, in case you were wondering, did Sam open a pinball arcade? Alright, this looks great. So smoothness of 3, tension of 5, click on Done, and we are good to go. Now what you're seeing here on the screen is the total working size of the F1 Ultra in gray, and that little white square in the middle, that's our actual size for what we've done. With our measurement done, the next thing to do is go ahead and import our SVG. So we'll bring this guy in. Yikes, that's big. Let's resize it. We'll say 35mm. We're going to use the new Align Center feature of xTool Creative Space. Looks great. Let's go ahead and make this all one layer, and let's make it a compound vector to simplify things. So the next thing to do is to choose our settings, which honestly, I don't know what settings to use. I should run a test grid, but Sam's going to do probably what 90% of people out there are going to do, and just shoot from the hip. Let's go with blue light, dotting engraving method, sure. Dot duration, let's do 250, power 50%, and DPI 500 is pretty high. So let's take it down to 300. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it. So click on Go to Process. Looks good. Click on Start. The beep tells us the xTool is ready. So come with me as we go across the shop and shoot from the hip and see if Sam nailed it or ruined an ornament. That was a fail. Let's go ahead and take our power from 50% and just bump that guy up to, let's choose 75. We'll do it that way. So 75% power, 300 DPI, 1 pass, 250 dot duration. Let's give it a shot. Again, probably not the smartest thing to do, right? Not the best use of an ornament, but don't lie. You know you guys are out there doing exactly what I'm just doing. We're all the same. Alright, so I went around on a couple different settings, and I'll put on the screen what settings I used to get these results right here, but these may not be the best settings, right? I've only been doing this for a little bit, and so I'm not going to say, hey, these are the end-all be-all settings. I would encourage you to either try it out, see how it goes, get a lot of extras, and just plan to waste a couple, or better yet, do some more research, look at some more posts than the couple I looked at just while running the video, and see if there's a general consensus. So as you look right here, you can probably see the engraving portion, and if you look carefully, it's acting kind of like a window. So if you look at the lettering, you can see through to the other side of the ornament and see the shiny portion. So you're kind of looking through a mirror of sorts. So this in and of itself looks alright, right? You're not going to win any major design awards, but what you can do to take it to the next level is to get some regular acrylic craft paint, or honestly paint from the home store. That's usually acrylic as well. Get some of that, maybe dilute it with a little bit of water, squirt it in the top, and shake and bake. Coat the inside with that paint to give you some contrast. I have some pearlized dark blue acrylic paint right here, just stuff you get from the craft store and the ornament. I'm just going to squirt some directly in there and then go over to my sink, add a little bit of water, put my finger on the top, and shake it up. Don't know if this is going to work. It probably won't because it's the first time I'm trying it, but hey, let's give it a shot. I don't know, let's try shaking it before we dilute it, right? I guess I'm going to end up with a blue finger, but all in the name of science. Or YouTube. Yeah, didn't really go anywhere. Let me get some water. Alright, got a little bit of water on here. You can probably see it's a little bit wet. Now we're going to shake it around. Again, this is probably not the best result. Probably a brush would be best, although it'd have to be like a little crooked one to be able to get around to the top of the globe. So, I don't know. This time I'm going to see if I can get it to run down the front side, which is where I really want most of the paint to go. I'm just painting myself more than anything. So there's a result there for the ornament. You can kind of see some results here, right? I mean, it's getting there. It's getting some contrast. So we'll call this good enough for now, although this is not the method you should use. So don't follow my example on this one. Moving on to different style ornaments. Here are the very common ones you're going to see. So here is a gold globe, a red globe, and these are, I guess, what I would call mirror finishes. You're going to have problems getting the machine to focus on this. So what I have to do is, ta-da, paint one. Take one ornament of each diameter and sacrifice it, paint it, and you're not going to paint it to engrave it and save it, all that. This is what I would call your focusing ornament. So here's a 67 millimeter, here is a 65. What I've done is take some of that exact same paint, just painted the face of it, let it dry, and now we have a matte surface that the laser can use to focus on. So here is my little trick, like I mentioned earlier, on how to get it to focus and realize your mirror finished object, is to just take one of each size, sacrifice it, and make them your focusing ornaments. I've used this and it works pretty well. Back over here at the jig, guys, we're done with this one. Let's go ahead and do a different size. This is our 65 millimeter cradle. I'm going to pop it right in size there. Now we're going to use our red focusing ornament. Put it here. Another tip really is to go ahead and take the tops off your ornaments as well. That way it sits nice and flat. Got it going there. Now I need to adjust my focus a little bit. Perfect. And now let's go focus this in xTool Creative Space. But I'm going to leave you guys over here so you can see it kind of do the pinpoint all around and make its grid to make our 3D mesh model. Alright, at this point, guys, you can tell the light has turned off on the xTool, and every once in a while you're going to see a little blue dot. That is the laser going through that 4x4 grid, and it's bouncing off the top of the ornament and building its 3D model. So this is where the opaque paint is really going to help things out. I've tried it numerous times with the regular mirror finish and it never did work. So this is really the only way I've found to reliably get curved surface measuring with xTool Creative Space. And there we go, the light's back on, it is done measuring. So we'll take out our focusing ornament, pop the top off of our new one, and the reason I do that is so this fits flat on the jig. Place it where we want it, which it's a sphere. That's all we need. And now we're good to run another job. Here's a little of an experiment. I just went back and changed the file settings from infrared to blue dot diode. Let's see if it does anything. Let's also see if I've moved the ornament or not. So, I don't know. It's a test. Alright guys, the blue light diode, absolutely. That's the one to use with this style of ornament. So it probably doesn't look very good here in person because it's kind of silvery. Again, that's because we removed the red coating inside. I think this one's going to react really good with paint, but let me get some white paint to paint the inside of this one with. Alright, we've got some white acrylic paint, same kind of stuff you get from the craft store. I'm going to pour it this way into the glass ball. See if we can't get it globbing around right up front where we really want it. Maybe roll it this way and that way. Looking pretty good. Again, I think a curved paintbrush is going to be your best bet for this. Gosh, of course, I almost wonder would spray paint work in this case. Like if you're doing a bunch of these, you're going to want something that's less labor than what I'm doing, I'm sure. And you're going to want something that'll give you precise results. Either way, let's get some white paint in here. And let's see if we can't get some contrast and really make this look better and pop. Making a little bit of headway there. Let's keep going with the the shaky sand method. It's actually working. Can't believe it. Of course, the risk is if you throw it out of your hand. Be careful. A little more paint. Okay, this method worked a lot better with this style ornament. However, Sam's next tip is to probably wash out the ornament, let it dry before you paint it. The reason for that is if you look at the color, we have nice white colors at the top, but as we get down towards the bottom, it kind of turns pink. I have put a ton of paint inside this ornament, so it's not a thick versus thin paint coating issue. It's probably more of an issue of that paint collecting some of the ablated metal or ablated red paint off the ornament and just kind of mixing it together. Alright guys, I played around with the settings a little bit and I'm going to put them right here on the screen for what gave me really good results with this mirror finish green ornament, blue light laser, and then also putting some white paint inside. As you can tell, that has a good amount of contrast. I put a lot of paint in there, so disclaimer, you're really going to go through the paint to get a nice thick result. But honestly, that looks really good. So I was able to finally get some pretty good results on the baby first Christmas, and this particular ornament finish, it has paint on the inside. So it's a very pretty looking ornament as it is, but it means that I can't put paint inside this to get any more contrast because you'll see the paint inside. I guess if I fully coated the inside, that would work, but it's going to change the look of the ornament and not something I'm going to do. But here is a look at Baby First Christmas. It's not super high contrast, not as good as the Samcraft ornament, but at least I got that one to work somewhat, right? This is all just trial and error, and I'm not an ornament expert by any means, but I did want to bring you guys along, show you the jig that I created, show you that it does work, how to use it, and maybe give you some ideas. If nothing else, I give you an idea of what not to do. I guess you could always learn something from me, right? Well, I've spent some time off camera trying to perfect some settings, and I got some pretty good results. Again, I'll put those on the screen down here below if you want to try them out. I don't know if they're going to work great for you because, as I've found with these ornaments, different finish ornaments react differently. So this little guy, the mirror finish green one, that turned out great. That is hands down my favorite ornament style. It got the best results, and putting the white paint inside this did fantastic. Same thing for the red one that I did earlier. The silver, very first one that we tried, I think would do good if I would have used hotter settings with it. The settings that I put on the screen probably would do better, and then of course getting the paint in there is really make or break. I also tried this ornament. This is it kind of looks like a milk glass to me, but what this one is it's glass on the outside and paint on the inside, like from the store. That is cool for a very pretty looking ornament, but it means on engraving, you don't get the pop you want. And if you try to paint the inside, you can see it through the white, because this is a very light paint coating. Now, if you're looking for something that is a much more muted tone or more calming look and not just pow, this one looks pretty good. The engraving of Baby's First Christmas is there. It's kind of a tan contrast, and it does show. It's just not going to be something you can see from across the room. Definitely not compared to this guy with the green and white paint. So two very big differences. I tried to do the glass ornament for the 86mm, and the only thing I had here in the shop is clear, and that just didn't work out. It's not that the laser could not do it with some other items, I just don't happen to have those items. Things such as Surmark or possibly a black tempera paint. Basically, you put a coat on the glass, you engrave it, and then you wash it off. There's a ton of content out there on how to engrave on clear glass with a diode laser, so I would encourage you, if you want to learn more about that, just do some searches on YouTube for that term, and it should get you some results that you can then retrofit and apply to the techniques I showed you today. Either way, I wanted to at least get this video out for you guys as fast as possible, because yep, it's already November and this guy was a little bit late releasing this, so that's why I'm not being able to give you perfect, wonderful, polished design results. I'm just basically showing you the jig, functionality, the new features of xTool Creative Space, and what kind of stuff you can get. Engraved glass ornaments are a really good seller right now. They're great for small businesses, and a jig such as the one I've developed, I really think will help you take it to a level where you're able to get that repeatability over and over and over with minimal amount of work and setup on your part. That means it reduces your labor, reduces your cost, and increases your profit. So there's going to be a link to my shop down below if you guys want to check out this jig or any of the others that I make. Either way, hopefully this video was informative, educational, maybe a little bit entertaining, or if nothing else, you enjoyed hanging out with me in the workshop. Regardless, I'm glad you're here, glad you stuck it out to the end, and if you did, let's do the comment, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. It's Christmas theme, right? Sure. Either way, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.